Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Charmley, and this is another Staffordshire church. This is the Church of St Mary, Ellenhall. Now, you look behind me and what you see is this rather odd brick tower, and then you've got this brick nave. So, is this a Victorian church? Well, move over here, and we've got this little stone chancel just peeping out here. What's going on? What's inside? Well, the most interesting with the church is the inside, but the outside's a great example of a church that's been, shall we say, pulled about a bit. So we'll go inside first and explore, and then we'll have a look around the outside and see just exactly what is going on with this little stone chancel here. So, join me. Aha, here we are. Well, here we are inside at Ellenhall. And you can see that this is quite an interesting building. I'm sure you can see here, but you can see here you've got a chancel arch. That chancel arch is obviously Victorian. I mean, that's the kind of chancel arch the Victorians went in for. You've got a rood beam, again Victorian, pulpit Victorian. It's just a Victorian church. Well, what's beyond that chancel arch? That is the great question. Well, let's explore the inside of this building. I'm just trying to keep my head in frame, won't I? Let's explore the inside and see what we can find that tells us about the history of this building. Well, the first thing we find is the font. And this is very plainly and clearly a Norman tub font. Look at the damage to it. It can't be a copy. Yes, it's on a Victorian base, but of course so many on Victorian bases. So here's our first indication inside that this is not a Victorian building, but rather a Victorian rebuilding. Our second indication is a little bit clearer, and it's two pictures of the church, which are clearly a before and after. Here is before. There's no date on the picture, but we see here a building with, that's clearly that chancel that we've seen, and yet everything else, it appears to have a stone tower and a little stone nave. And that's cross stump that we saw outside in the background. And then we have, this is dated 1937 by the look of it. And here we have the building as it is now. So what's happened is that a medieval stone building has very largely been rebuilt in brick. Why is that? Well, there's really only one reason why that kind of thing happens, which is that something major went wrong with the building. Perhaps the tower collapsed and took out part of the nave. There's no indication here as to exactly what it was happened, but something happened. We have some memorials here. Here we have Richard Beach, Esquire of Wootton, a magistrate of this county who died October the 15th, 1848, aged 79 years. And so we have here a fairly straightforward memorial. There's a number of other memorials, but we'll have a little look in the tower there. As you can see the tower steps that lead up. We have here some photographs, past events, nothing terribly exciting. And we look west, and having seen those pictures, we can tell that it's a chancel that's going to be the most interesting part of this. And yet there's a number of images, a number of memorials here, big memorials. So here we have, here lies the body of Blessed Colclough Gent, younger brother of Caesar Colclough, Esquire of the Delph House in this county, who by a lifetime of industry, prudence and honour acquired the friendship of the worthy and respectable part of mankind. He departed this life on the 25th day of September in the year 1755. So here we have one of these big, grand 18th century memorials. A bit further on we have a memorial to the Addison family. sacred to the memory of Thomas Addison, gent, who for many years resident at Ranton Abbey. Ranton Abbey was an old Augustinian establishment that, after the Reformation, a mansion was built there, and the mansion then is now in ruins. And here again, it's early 19th century. Pulpit's quite nice, carved with figures. We'll see who they are. We have here again another memorial. This is Sir John Webb of Ellenhall and the Webb family. But you'll notice doesn't be much of continuity in terms of big house families so far. War memorial window. Greater love hath no man than this. And we have on the one side the soldier, and another we have a member of the Army Medical Corps. Good reminder, of course, of the importance of the Medical Corps in the war. Big organ, which is in memoriam, looks like to the in memoriam Alfred Matthews and John Charles Collett, two the two men in Parish who were killed in the Second World War. So the organ is the organ blower, apparently, not the organ, but the organ blower. We notice in fact that the screen is made partly of older panelling, probably from old box pews, just as the panelling on the pews appears to be older. We have here the Virgin Mary. Of course, this is St Mary's, and we have St Michael there. And here we are in the chancel. Now immediately we're in a much older structure. You can see the wall here, how that's either it slopes outwards, which is a possibility, or more likely, given that window, it's Norman and it has a much thicker base than top. Again, we've got our box pew panelling either side of the communion table, or the altar really here. This is quite a high church altar set up. Here we have memorial to the Right Honourable Thomas George Anson, Earl of Litchfield, sometime Lord Lieutenant of Staffordshire and patron of this living, born August the 15th, 1825, died January the 7th, 1892. This memorial is erected in grateful remembrance by the vicar and the tenantry of his lordship and others in this parish and neighbourhood. Yes, little Norman window. I think there's must be a vestry back there now, so the Norman window is only visible from the inside. We have the resurrection in the centre, and then we have the presentation of Christ in the temple, and on the other side we have Christ as a boy in the temple. The roof has been painted. This, although it's the sort of thing you might find in the Middle Ages, it's probably actually Victorian. There's another one of these grand memorials here, very hard to read, but a date appears. Well, there's a date 1673 and 1712. So this is late 17th, early 19th, and you can see here the stonework has been exposed. Now I don't like that on the whole. This stonework is not meant to be exposed, but it's helpful for us for dating the building, because this and that window, they tell us this is basically a Norman chancel, that there's a Norman church, and this medieval church has been demolished and, well, apart from the chancel, and replaced with this 19th century building beyond. So it's quite helpful in this case to see the stonework, because the stonework is diagnostic. It tells us something about when the building was built. Well, it's quite a simple building, of course, so having had a good look around the outside, or a bit of a look around the inside rather, we shall have a look around the outside and again see some other diagnostic elements. Obviously the big ones here are the font, the stonework in the chancel, and those two pictures at the west end of the nave. And so here we are outside again. We've got this lovely churchyard cross. Originally, you can see it's a medieval base, and then the actual cross head is Victorian. And here again we have a good indication this is an old location, although having been inside we've seen those pictures and we've seen that chancel. So we'll have a look around the outside and I'll point out things like that chancel and its key features. Most interesting building, this one. So we have here this, in fact you can see the base of the nave is made of stone, and this is going to be reclaimed stone from the medieval church when it was pulled down, or mostly pulled down. I can only think, as I say, that what happened was the tower collapsed. Now on the south side of the chancel we have this doorway, and we have this stonework, and it's stonework here tells us that this is in fact dated 1683, Th Freemason, which I suppose is a good enough name for somebody who's doing work. But you've got Anna Cope and Jonathan Cope, and they're going to be the people, I suppose, who paid for it, and then TH is likely to be the actual mason, and not a Freemason in the sense of a member of the Freemason Lodge today, but an actual genuine old-fashioned Freemason. So this side we can see has been rebuilt, at least in part, in the late 17th century. And as we move around the east end we come to this stonework, and this is clearly medieval stonework. This looks to be 13th, maybe 14th century. And then around we've got one of these big memorials, and you can just see beyond there the Addison memorial. In fact, we saw more from the inside, and just beyond is the manor house. This is not, of course, one of these big manor houses. This is a manor house that's one of the smaller houses. You see there's the vestry built on, and there's some of that Norman stonework. You see these great big blocks, and no, it's not leaning outwards, which tells us that yes, it has a batter, and that batter thicker at the bottom than it is at the top, very pronounced. That tells us that is a Norman wall there. So we have this 19th century church. In fact, that tower looks to be older than the nave, and how can we tell that? Well, we'll have a look, and I point out those features that tell us this is an older tower by the look of it. Or is it? Important thing is the size of the brick. No, what we've got is, in fact, that I think that the tower and the nave are the same date, but the nave has been altered, had these big windows put in, it's had these buttresses put on it. It's those buttresses. You look at the brick here, the brick is a different colour, although it's about the same size, so that tells you it's all 19th century brickwork. But very interesting building, and as I say, I can only think that what happened was that the tower collapsed and took out at least part of the nave, and so they had to do a rebuilding. And as Webb, again, we saw these memorials inside, and you've got their graves on the outside, and I suppose these would be the families who lived in the manor house, who were not patrons, because the patronage of the living was the Earl of Litchfield, Lord Litchfield, the Anson family, but these are the people who would have been the most notable people in the parish, because of course the Ansons lived over at Shugborough. So there we are, that's the outside here at Ellenhall, and yes, the porch is a later addition as well, but now you can see, can't you, that dead giveaway that the tower and the nave are the same date is that you've got architectural features that continue. So, I mean, that kind of almost classical Gothic with a K, that says that's relatively early in the 19th century that this is built, and then because it's Gothicised later on. So there we are, that's a quick tour of St Mary's, Ellenhall, and something, an indication of how you can date a church, and how you can go from a building that looks 19th century and find, no, actually this is originally a Norman building, but it's just been very largely rebuilt. And so there we have it, St Mary's, Ellenhall, and a quick lesson in how to assess the dates of a church, and how we can find something of the history just by looking for clues like the font, like the walls, the masonry, dates even carved in the stone, memorials, and of course those pictures. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I found this quite an interesting video to make, because it is just doing a building detective work So again, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until the next time.